What up, peeps? SEC Connect, man. Look, we got myself, we got Jay, we got Chris with a K, we got Steven in tonight. Ty's not on tonight. But folks, man, this is episode 35 of the SEC Connect. The season's at an end, folks. We just had the championship games, and now we got the college football, the playoffs coming up in the next month, and we're going to talk about a college football playoff preview, and we're going to talk about that transfer portal and how that thing is jumping right now. That thing is wide open, but I'm telling you, that damn portal is jumping. Portal combat is what people have been calling it. Fellas, what's going on, man?
Hey, man, real quick, man. Y'all see my shirt? It says Juan Solo. This is kind of, I think, what DJ Hicks is feeling like right now, because everybody on that defensive line that he went to the team with, they all gone. Everybody done bounced. He's just sitting there in the swing, just like, guess everybody leaving me, huh?
I look like Pablo.
He's a solo act now. Crazy. It's crazy how the portal's popping right now.
Exactly. How about you, Steven?
You know, I'm just getting ready for the college football playoffs. You know, the whole goal of this sport is to pursue championships. So that's what time I'm on right now. Portal is definitely crazy. But what's even crazier is the fact that this is the last playoff of the 4-team era. So I'm excited to talk about how we got here and what was right and what was wrong and all those good things in our wonderful big dumb sport of college football.
Chris.
Hey, man, congratulations to you Texas guys, man. You know what I'm saying? Last year, to think, 2 years ago when I first start doing pods with you guys, made videos about you two never winning anything in life, with your team being Longhorn fans. But congratulations on your first playoff berth, man. I'm happy for y'all. I'm genuinely happy. Y'all are my friends, and I love my friends. So congratulations, man. You know what? Horns up for peace. Horns up for peace tonight, man.
Hey, man, look here. Hey,
Thank
Steven.
you, Chris.
Steven,
I'm curious. Y'all got something on him?
No. We don't got nothing on Chris.
Blink twice if you're not safe, Chris, because this has never been this guy. He's usually got something in the chamber, ready to shoot out with a joke, but he didn't even pull it out. Blink twice.
Look, blink twice. Right,
Morse coded.
I'm just waiting. Once they do some OU slander, trust me, it will get real tonight. Okay, let's go ahead.
Ain't gonna be no slander.
Shout out to our
slander for tonight.
Yeah, but shout out to our rivals on that one. I'm glad that y'all got in there. And the best part, man, there's no legendary teams in there this year. Y'all got a really good chance of competing with everybody, right? There's no record-breaking offenses or defenses out there at all.
Hey, man, don't be trying to do no backhanded slaps to us.
There's no backhand slap to y'all.
Hey, Steven, that's kind of sneaky.
That's not backhanded.
Steven, that was sneaky. He said this is a weak playoff class. You guys got a chance to win. It's what
I didn't say it was a weak playoff class.
It's not.
I said there's no legendary team. So everybody's even foot. No one's gonna count y'all out. Is my point.
Hey. It's
nobody's gonna attack y'all to say that y'all
Nick Saban was a legend.
Yeah,
Jay,
I know. Anytime he's
y'all
in
not
there.
facing Nick Saban in the first round, so y'all good.
Jay, it's not like you said Taft is gonna be out there on the island against those Washington receivers. I don't know, Jay. It's not like you said that. No.
I didn't say that at all. What I'm saying is, again, y'all are not dealing with anybody on the legendary side. Y'all got teams that y'all really can beat because y'all actually have a good team. So the struggle that I've seen in the past is record-breaking teams making it in the damn playoffs. And you're like, what are we supposed to do? What's everybody supposed to do? Like Georgia walking through everybody, and this year, Bama knocked them off. And they look pedestrian all season. We talked about this,
but
as
Georgia
a collective.
didn't walk through everybody last year. Ohio State had a chance to win that game.
It's fair. If Marvin Harrison Jr. didn't get hurt,
yeah.
They walked through the first year. The second year was when you start to see the cracks in the armor, and in this year, all that armor cracked. Which was my point. It's like the first year, I don't know how they walked through it with Stetson, but that defense was legendary. Again, legendary teams. Ain't none this year. Y'all get to be the legendary team. You just got to make sure y'all execute on it, which I can see it.
Chris, I remember one of our first podcasts we had together. And Steven, he should back me up on this. Once we got announced that Texas and OU were going to the SEC, I told you what was going to happen. I said, Texas won the first Big 12 championship, and when we leave, we're going to leave the last one when we in there, and then we bounce into the SEC. I called it, It is what it is. Go
You
ahead,
called,
Texas.
hey, you
You
called
did
it.
it.
You said y'all was gonna win your 4th Big 12 championship. So hey, y'all did it. Hey, and you know what? You know what? You know what? Thank you guys for doing one thing for me. Okay,
Beat Noki State.
no, we
What?
don't have to hear
Walmart.
any more of this Ollie Gordon comparison to
Adrian
Adrian Peterson anymore. Shut it down. Trash. Bum.
Why did that? Why
Hot
was that
garbage.
a thing last
I
week?
know. Yeah.
Who started that?
Some
Sam
idiot.
Mays.
Somebody on the OSU side started that, and I was just
And
like,
Bobby
guys,
Reed.
I
Dude,
mean,
Sam Mays and Bobby
It was
Reed
Bobby-
said it on
Oh.
Sam
Yeah.
Mays'
do
podcast
people
with the Sellout
understand
Crowd.
that Adrian Peterson is one of the only true freshmen in college football that could have probably played in the NFL as an 18-year-old kid?
yeah.
Exactly.
I don't think
He's-
people
he-
understand how
yeah.
good Adrian Peterson was.
Adrian Peterson stands for all. Hey, AD stands for all day. Okay, it's not showing up in the fourth quarter whenever I got my engine running. It's all day. I'm bringing it. All right.
Yeah.
I give
He
it
got
to you
stronger
in
as the
first
game
and
went
the
on.
Peterson was an animal, man.
Get out of here, man.
He was an animal. Too bad he wasted his talent at
College
OU and didn't get a
football.
championship.
Wow. See, I knew it was coming. Bow, bow, bow. God.
Hey man, hey, this thing. If he'd have committed to Texas, he'd be in that backfield. Him and Vince Young winning championships. He missed out on his opportunity.
Touche. Injuries
That line
take
is
a lot of people out. But
bum-ass
anyway,
I ain't even gonna say that, man.
I know Ty's not here, but congratulations to Alabama for getting in and winning the SEC as well.
So
He did call his shot versus Georgia,
he did. He
Oh,
did.
and you know
I did too.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Who said it from the get go when we started this show that Alabama was going to win the SEC? I kept telling y'all. I said, "Hey, they're the better team." His legs are man. I will say this right here. They had a game plan for Bowers. They made everybody else work for that. Bowers was not.
Well, also, folks, Kirby was stubborn. Ladd's not healthy. Why the hell is he even playing, guys? He's over there limping. He can't run. Why is your wide receiver out in the field who can't run? Like, Kirby, get him off the field. And if he's been that hurt for weeks and you understand that he's not going to be at 100% or even close to it, even close to 85%, he was not Ladd. Brock was not Brock either. He's been hurt too. You had time to scheme up. You had a gimme game against Georgia Tech. You sat your guys for a week. This was an opportunity for you to be drawing up a game plan to go against Alabama, which I will give them this. Defensively, they were fine. I didn't see nothing wrong that Georgia did on the defensive side of the ball. They put 2 spies on Milroe. Milroe didn't get off running the ball. And
I only have one critique about Georgia's defense.
what's that? Go ahead.
Just one critique. They didn't have the edges that they normally have.
No.
And this is something we had noticed. I think Jay paid attention to this as well in terms of their pass rush this year. And so Milroe you're right. Their defense was good, but Milroe had a lot of time in the pocket. And because of that, he could either throw or find lanes in scramble drill to run and to threaten the defense. They did not have their normal edge heat. And this is a big thing why I was arguing with Georgia in the whole playoff resume of you can't factor in, they're on a 29-game win streak, because I'm like, those people that were your heaters and your rushers from the previous years are not present now. And I think you saw that with this year's iteration of Georgia's team versus previous years where they were able to get more pressure with just their front four.
Yeah.
That was the only difference I noticed. But
The only thing that I would counter with that is, yes, they weren't able to get it with their front four per se, right? Bama still gave up 4 sacks in that game. Georgia got pressure when needed. Milroe and company, let's be honest, how many points did they really put up?
Those sacks that they got off legit pressure? Are those sacks that Milroe is holding the ball and trying to find
it's more. There's a few of them that's coverage sacks, Nick.
But that's right. But that is totally fine, because if Milroe, usually when that happens for Milroe, he's able to bounce out and run the ball and do something great with his feet. He wasn't great passing the ball this game at all. He wasn't great passing the ball, folks. And he wasn't great running the ball. Georgia sucked this game, and it was a byproduct. I will give it of Bama's defense, but Georgia fumbling the ball on their own side of the ball. Bama gets the ball at the 5-10 yard line. Granted, the defense held them to 3 points, even though they did fumble the ball in the red zone.
Yeah.
But their offense was just hot garbage. Carson Beck's not that guy. And remember, Steven, I said on the app last week, I said, look here, Georgia will win this game easy if Carson Beck is as advertised. But we haven't seen him go against competition where we're going to understand if he is as advertised or not. Carson Beck had a horrible game. He should have thrown about 2 or 3 picks that game. If Alabama DBs can catch the ball, he's throwing 3 picks. So look, I like the Georgia team. Georgia didn't look that great to me in that game, but neither did Bama. I'm just going to be honest. Even my wife, she's a Bama fan. She goes, we just don't look that good at all. And I said, well, look, it's 2 tough teams playing each other. It's going to be a dogfight. Every game's not going to be pretty. But both those teams could get had in the playoffs. That's what's going to make this so intriguing, because that's what Jay is saying. Neither one of those teams look like juggernauts. I'm not going to say they look average. They're not average teams. They're very good teams. Very good teams.
They're just not juggernauts, right? Unstoppable forces.
But it's going to make for some really good games in the playoffs.
Now you say that, but then if we talk about the matchup, what does Michigan want to do?
Oh, they're going to run the ball. But guess what? Bama can't stop the run.
I don't know. Well, here's the thing. I don't know if JJ McCarthy can pass. Every game that I watch, I'm like, man, it's dinking and diving. It's nothing that is just down the field, him throwing bombs.
But he don't have to. That's the point. That's the offense.
Bama gives up runs.
They're playing those Big Ten style of ball. You know how it is whenever they get into whenever they face SEC style teams. Hell, last year with TCU, they let them score all those points. I mean, the thing is that I just don't see it. I see Alabama going in there and probably winning that game. It's not going to be close. I think it's going to get ugly quick. I think it's going to get ugly very quick.
You think so?
Think so.
I don't think so.
I think Bama wins by 20. I think Bama wins by 20 plus.
When have they won by 20 plus in any game this season?
Hey, look,
Middle Tennessee.
That's not the point. I think
I'm being honest. I'm looking at track record. I'm looking at track record. Bama has not won by 20. I think Kentucky maybe, but we're talking about Kentucky.
Yeah.
All right. So Bama, you can get ran. Bama will let you run on them. They're not the same Bama as stopping and run. Auburn rushed for 240 on them.
I
what you think about that?
Auburn couldn't. But I'm just saying,
Chris, Auburn
Michigan's had the same game plan the last couple of years and got smacked in the playoffs.
Let me see. Here you go.
Auburn
for 20-point wins. They've got. Let me see the ones that actually count. We're not going to talk about 4 acronym teams. We're going to talk about teams in conference or out of conference that matter. 2. They beat Mississippi State.
Boo.
And they beat Kentucky.
Boo.
LSU, they beat, 14? They beat 2 touchdowns. LSU and Tennessee were 14 points.
Hurt.
Yeah, and LSU had their winner out for a quarter.
But it's 27-24 in a lot of these games. There's a lot of 24s. They beat Ole Miss by 14. They beat everybody by 14, roughly. Is basically what they were beating everybody by. Literally. Actually, I'm not lying. They beat South Florida by 14. They beat Ole Miss by 14.
Yeah.
They beat Tennessee by 14. LSU by 14. Arkansas by 3.
6.
It's either by 3 or 14 was basically it.
Georgia by 3. So I don't see how they're going to win 20 points against people. Look here, man. Michigan's a physical team. This is going to be a physical game. This is going to be I'm telling you, this is going to be a physical game, folks. If I got to put money on, I'm still putting money on Bama to win this game. But I'm not going to just discount. Michigan's going to play physical. They're a physical team. And they have been winning games. We can say, well, we want to about their competition. They've been winning games with their head coach.
Right.
Like their head coach is sitting up in the lazy boy eating popcorn while they're playing games.
You said track record. I'm going off of the last two appearances in the playoffs. I just don't see it, man. If they want to be physical, let's go do that. Bama wants to be physical. They want to do all the rest of that. That's the reason why they went out there and got rid of Golding and said, let's get back to the basics on defense. I just don't see it. I don't see Michigan staying close to them. I think it's going to be a blowout. That's just my opinion. And I think people in the chat, actually, I had Texas fans agreeing with me. Hell froze over tonight.
He says he thinks Miller runs for 150. I think he's done it one time this year. Michigan
got a pretty
has.
I
disciplined
don't think he
defense.
does that. I don't think he does that now.
Michigan has the number 2 ranked rushing defense in the country, behind Ohio State. You know, I don't see that happening. I don't think anybody's.
I have questions about Michigan's competition this season.
I do too. I mean, yeah. I mean, but
including Ohio State.
I think we got questions about everybody's competition this year. If you really think about it, this year has felt extremely top heavy in every single conference. It's kind of weird, but it feels that way.
But even the top teams in every conference haven't been continuously blowing out people. I mean, look at Texas. We had the Houston game. We had the Kansas State game. Mind you, I know Kansas State had Murphy in the game, but however, we were up 20-something points. We had the TCU game happen. We had the Wyoming game happen.
Yeah.
Look at Alabama. They had the Arkansas game happen. They had the USF game happen. I don't care if Tyler Buckner's playing or not. It's USF, all right? You're Bama, right? You had the A&M game. You had the Miracle 4th and 31 Auburn game, right? So it's not like, look, Michigan, they had the Maryland game. Rutgers hung with them for a while. Washington, they had the Arizona State game, the 15-7 game or whatever. All these teams have had close wins, but look, they won. They won, which leads me to my next point, folks. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I hear what you're saying with that speaks to Jay's point about there's not a juggernaut in college football this year.
Yeah,
that's valid. That does speak to Jay's original point. I will say styles make fights, and that's where I'm kind of riding a little bit more with Chris in terms of traditionally certain style of play. The thing is, the way Michigan runs the football, Bama can play that phone booth type football all day long if you give them 30 days to prep. Yeah. I think that they can get ready for that. The way Auburn runs the football, the way they got their yards rushing was way different than what Michigan will try to line up and deploy in straight 12 personnel.
Yeah.
You know what they're going to do, right? Like you can read Michigan's plays. It's not deep. It's more about their physicality, and they pride themselves on execution. They really do. Auburn, Hugh Freeze and them are motioning 50 people left and right. I mean, look at the controversial play in that game where they motioned 3 people. So it's a completely different style of smoke and mirrors of how they're running the ball. But Nino, you're right. Bama has not been the traditional shut everything down running the football the way they historically been. But they've also been still outstanding defensively as a group. I mean, shout out to Downs for making All-American
as a true freshman.
Hey, I will say this now, Nick. I'll give you this point, okay, about you could run on them because Stevens' boy Peyton Thorne somehow was able to kind of run amok on that defense, which was crazy to me. But also, I'll tell you who else had success that I didn't know was really mobile like that. Jay's boy, Milton. I didn't know that they were mobile like that, and they were physical runners. I know that J.J. McCarthy has some decent wheels. I'm not going to sit out here and say that he's Lamar Jackson. I don't know if he's a physical runner like that to take a hit from Dallas Turner coming at him from a nice angle. So I don't know. But, I mean, I get your point, but I just think that if we're looking at track records and all the rest of that, Michigan is winning there against Georgia, try to line it up, go straight up. And then they got cute early on against TCU, then tried to it's just I don't really know what to expect from Harbaugh in these championship games because he makes it through the whole year. He beats the team that he needs to beat, which is Ohio State. And then after that, it's just kind of, okay, now what we do.
Chris, I'm going to tell you right now, what needs to happen is J.J. McCarthy is going to have to make big boy throws against Bama. Yeah. That's the only way you're going to get out of it. Bama's only loss is to Quinn Ewers. And Quinn Ewers was able to hit on multiple deep throws down the field and was able to hit on some seam throws to Ja'Tavion Sanders to get chunk yards. That's their only loss, right? Other than that, defensively, Ole Miss wasn't able to do it. And that's why Ole Miss got tapped, as good as Ole Miss was offensively this year. Mm-hmm. So J.J. McCarthy is going to have to make those down the field throws enough to create that balance. If he can't, they are going to get shut down. It's just the reality of the situation.
Hey guys, I got a question for you when it comes to JJ McCarthy. I've been seeing all these draft boards. There are folks that have this guy first round draft pick. I mean, I don't see it. I don't see it. I have a cousin who's an agent. The NFL's high on him for some reason. They're very high on him. So what's your guys' opinion on him, man, as a player?
Jay, you ain't said nothing. What you think?
So, as Steven alluded to earlier in this year, I had JJ as my dark horse to win the Heisman. They brought back the most players. They had it perfectly set up for him to be successful. But guess what happened? They never had to use him. And because of that, they didn't. They just kept running it down. Everybody, the Teron Moore offense, which a lot of people like in some capacities, former Sooner and all, it's just brute force. That's literally it. He's a Big Ten coach, and he's gonna end up being a head coach at that school most likely because of just how much brute force it is. JJ ain't a brute force guy. So when they need him to throw the ball, he's had some success, but he doesn't need to throw it very often. In which, just as Nick said, if they're gonna be successful in this game, Bama's gonna have to force him to throw the ball. But I'm going to be 100% honest. I don't think Bama's line is strong enough to stop that Michigan offensive line. That's a 2-time Joe Moore award-winning line. They're going to push them boys around.
Jay, this is what I'm getting at too, Jay. This is why I think this game is going to be closer than what people think it's going to be. I'm looking at the Bama offensive line too as well, okay? Mm-hmm. The Bama offensive line has given up the third most amount of sacks in the SEC this year. I don't care how the sacks were. I don't care if they're cover sacks or whatever. Hey, if they're cover sacks, guess what, Jalen Milroe? Throw the ball out of the goddamn bounds, right?
Right.
It is what it is. Get rid of the ball, right? They have given up the third amount of sacks in the SEC behind South Carolina and Arkansas. The next one is Bama. That offensive line against that Michigan defensive line is going to be a battle. I want to see that. That's what I want to see. And like you said, also, that Michigan offensive line is something. It's an offensive line, folks. And that Bama defensive line is good. Don't get it twisted. They got some good players in that line. That sort of matchup's going to be. I want to see who's going to win that matchup. Bama's so physical up front. They are. But if Michigan has the opportunity to push them around a little bit, I want to see how they react. Because when they got punched in the mouth against Texas, they looked a little bit off. They were like, I wasn't expecting this. And my biggest fear for Alabama, and I was telling my wife this morning, you guys know I am I'm in Bama right now. And the biggest thing on talk radio, they're overlooking Michigan, folks. They want to play Texas again.
Yep, they want a rematch.
You hear people calling in saying, you better tell Texas, don't flop. We want to see him again. We're going to see him in Houston.
Which is hilarious to even think that you're going to overlook the person. You can't overlook these teams, though. And that's why I mentioned that about juggernauts. There's no team that, and Steven, you always says this, and I always appreciate that because styles do make fights. And as much as we want to overlook anybody in front of us, you can't because both teams can win. It's set to where both teams can win just by the way the styles of the games are. Chris jokes, but y'all have both said one of the biggest weakness to y'all in your eyes about Texas is the secondary. There's things that need to get better, need to tighten up. You brought in players you thought were going to be able to make some game changes, but they wouldn't be able to. They didn't change anything you want. Washington's strength is their wide receiver room. I think they have the best wide receiver room in the country.
It's going to be a matchup. It's going to be a matchup.
So it's going to be a matchup. So Texas is going to have to really focus on stopping those 4 to 5 wide receivers that they always throw out there. Is it possible? Yes. Is it going to be hard? Yes. Both teams are going to have to focus on that. And then Washington on the other side is going to stop that run game, right?
Yeah.
They're going to have to get pressure on Quinn, and they're going to have to stop that run game, in which the run game looks like it's starting to get its motor. It's starting to push. So when you go to the Michigan-Alabama game, it's the same thing. It's going to be that physical battle of which I think Michigan will win. I think they're a little bit more physical. But Bama, so hopefully Bama's not overlooking them, and they're saying, no, we got to prove to people that we are as physical as we usually are. They've got to prove themselves.
But
and
you know what, Jay?
If they overlook them, it's going to be a problem.
You know what,
Jay? Lose that game.
By week 13, you are who you are.
I mean, it's a fair point.
Yeah.
That's a fair point.
But hold on, folks. We got a super chat. SBC Bates. He says, hold on. Oh, I'm sorry. Nope. My bad. There we go.
Dude, what is this guy? What is this guy doing? Like, he's a clown. This guy's a clown. Oh my
All
god,
right, man. Hey, SBC Bates says, just jumping in to remind everyone that FSU without Travis is Iowa with a softer defense. Side note, horns down always, but F your mark. Congrats. Yeah, F your mark. That was
I love that. I love that video, by the way, and how he just looked like there was so much pain in his face.
That was beautiful to see. Steve Sarkisian had to tell the crowd to calm down and stop booing this man.
Nope.
And him stuttering over Steve Sarkisian's name. He couldn't even say his name. He called him Caucasian. Caucasians.
Caucasians.
Oh yeah, he can see that. We don't really care about it.
All right, so hey,
look.
Yeah, go ahead.
To your original question though, I now I've been on record to say this, and I know I'm gonna take a lot of flack for this. To me, there's really the only difference between Drake May and JJ McCarthy is that Drake May has been in an offense that's featured his arm more. I think that JJ McCarthy has all the talent in the world to put on performances like that. He just hasn't been asked to do that necessarily because of the two running backs that he has, and that he can lean on that run game. He can lean on a true run game and an offensive line. If you go back and watch some of those tight plays, those plays they had to have against the the Marylands, the Marylands of the world, even like the Penn States and different things like that. I mean, he's making, it's like sprint outs, but he's making plays with his legs. He's picking up those little small chunks of yardage that really matter. So he hasn't been asked to do a whole bunch. I don't necessarily know if they have an explosive wide receiver on that team. Stats may say differently, but I don't think there's anybody that pops off the screen to you. And that's kind of what I'm scared for going into this game for them. But I mean, I think we talked about that enough. We know that Alabama is a little bit of a different team simply because of the maturation process that Jalen Milroe has had during this season. I think it's time to go ahead and talk about a couple of bums, Washington and Texas.
Oh my! No, hold on. First off, prior to us getting to Texas. Prior to us getting to Texas and Washington, I want to address the first part of his comment about FSU. All right, and let's go ahead and just get this out of the air right now about Florida State on if anybody deserved. Does anybody think Florida State should have been in the playoffs? And I'll start with you, Jay.
Do I think they deserve to be in there? Yes, they did everything they were supposed to do. They won. They went undefeated. And they won. And if there's a team that I would have knocked out, it would have been Bama. I think it should have been Texas at number 4. I think Florida State deserved to get in there because they did everything they were asked to do. They won all their games. And this is the thing that bothers me. And I'm actually going to record a podcast episode later on tonight to post for tomorrow. But what the committee told us is a few things. But this is the thing that really bothers me. They basically told us that defense does not matter. Exactly. And this is what I mean. If Jared Verse got hurt, they're in. It would have pretended like he never even existed. If Braden Fisk, their other edge, got hurt, they would have continued to win on. They would have act like they didn't exist. But they only did that with the quarterback because we haven't got to see Tate in a full capacity, in which he'll be shown next year in a capacity because he's their starting quarterback most likely next season. But we completely exclude the fact that this dude, and he didn't even play against Louisville. So, of course, they struggled against Louisville because they were on quarterback number 3. Tate will be back for the next game.
Their bowl game, yeah.
And all he needed to do is be installed in the offense like normal. Now, is he as dynamic as Jordan Travis? No. But he could go out there and throw for 250. He could throw for a couple tutties. He can lead the team. And the thing is, the strength of that team has always been really the defense, but they haven't really had to showcase it because Jordan Travis just goes out there and does everything himself. The dude's just that much of a monster. So we basically just said defense don't matter. We don't care if you have a good defense or not. It's all about your quarterback. If your quarterback's not trash, because this is what's funny about it, and this is what makes it even funny talking about the Michigan situation, is that J.J. McCarthy has not really been utilized this season. So do we really know how good he actually is? We don't. Their team has won because mainly of defense and run it down your throat. Florida State can do the same at a certain point. I mean, their running backs, they have two running backs. They had 200 yards rushing from the two running backs in the bowl game, in the conference championship game. And their
198.
defense just did it. They did not
198
try
yards.
to do a lot because their goal was to just win the game and get out healthy. And that basically screwed them. If you don't have style points too, and we talked about this when it came to Oregon and how that was the one fear if Oregon won against Washington that y'all would have been excluded because they would have looked at Oregon style points and said, oh yeah, they're a much better team than Texas, when in all actuality, that's not true. You don't know. You don't. In the neutral site situation, the way it was looking, Texas would have been favored against Oregon. But they wouldn't have said that. Well, Oregon blew out all of these scrubs and Texas struggled against scrubs. That don't matter when the teams actually have to be prepared for each other. But they basically overlooked everything for Florida State. So to me, Florida State should have been in there. But because defense doesn't matter, they're out. That was always my thought.
Nick, if you could look at the private chat real quick, and then Steven, you can go.
Go ahead, Steven. Hold on.
Oh, Lord. I don't even want to know.
Go ahead,
I don't
Steven.
wanna know.
Okay, I got you.
Okay, I'm gonna go. I said the 4 best teams because this has nothing to do with who's the most deserving. It was who's the 4 best teams. Deserving, yeah. Florida State deserved to make it, and like Crimson Sooner told me on Twitter, if Florida State had gotten in, it would have been murder, death, kill for them, whoever they play in the playoffs. The committee got it right. From my vantage point, I predicted Michigan, Washington, Texas, Bama. So I'm glad that they got to that conclusion. My thing with the Tate Rodemaker situation, I agree with some of the people here in the chat. I watched him play against Florida. He wasn't very good, and there was a significant drop-off, and I'm sorry, we don't have time to get you ramped up and all this type of stuff into the offense. That's the nature of college football, and there's a reason why a clause was made within the principles of if you lose a key player like that, and quarterback in this sport is heavily weighted towards that position. What we saw from Ohio State in 2014 was Cardale Jones was able to maintain and exceed the production that they thought they were going to lose from JT Barrett. And, we had to play with a backup quarterback 2 games this year. And I used that example as well. And Malik Murphy. Was Malik Murphy Quinn Ewers? No. But we still averaged 30 points per game with Malik Murphy. We weren't this. Florida State had 1 yard in the first quarter against Louisville. The kid threw for 55 yards in the game. I mean,
Tate
that's
game.
Iowa type.
That's my. Yeah,
I don't care. I don't care.
But he's not playing in your bowl game. He's not the guy playing in your bowl game.
Tate played in the Florida game.
And guess what?
Tate wasn't good in the Florida game.
And guess what? They won by a bigger difference, a bigger gap than Alabama won against Auburn. And they went to the swamp on the road against a comparable team and won way more comfortably than Alabama did against Auburn.
Ain't no joke.
So,
that's the thing. We discount that. That's what disappoints
Jay
me.
is right.
So you're saying if Florida State with Tate Rodemaker was to play Alabama right now, you're picking Florida State.
I didn't say that.
Nope.
I didn't say that
either. It's no different than Cincinnati getting.
So I'm asking you. I'm asking you if it's guys. Listen, please.
Okay, so look.
Listen. Can I speak or not?
Gotcha. Go ahead.
I'm asking Nick and then Jay. Answer my question in order, please. If Florida State were to play Alabama right now, in your opinion, who wins the game?
If Florida State has a month to prepare, it's going to be a good game.
With Tate Rodemaker.
It's good. Hey, guess
who
what?
Who wins the game? It's
I don't know.
The game?
I don't know. I got to see them. Hey, good coaches with a month to prepare have an opportunity to do anything for one game. Will anybody have ever thought last year TCU was going to go in there and beat the shit out of Michigan? They had a month to prepare for that game, and guess what? They beat Michigan.
Let me say this too. Let me add to that. Let me add to that real quick.
Hey, if you want to roll back the exception, not the rule, go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm gonna answer your question though. Do I think that Florida State would have beat Bama if they would have made it? Probably not. Would I think it would have been a game? Yeah, I think it would have, because I think that Florida State defense would have given Alabama hell the entire game. Now the difference would have been, can Florida State run game continue to run down Bama's throat and do something, in which we've seen their run game do that this season. We've seen them get 200 yards on the ground from their backs. They can figure it out. Benson and I can't think of the other running back's name off the top of my head right now, but they'll figure it out and make it happen. Now, with that, when y'all went to Tuscaloosa, y'all were 8-point dogs in that game. At some books, 9.5. Was there a doubt that y'all going to go in there and win that game from you, Steven?
I thought Texas was going to be very competitive in that game.
That's my point. We
I don't have
care
Tate
about who
Rodemaker
wins
at
or loses.
quarterback, though.
But think about it: it doesn't matter
That
who
matters.
wins or loses. It doesn't matter who wins or loses in the game. It's about, is it going to be a competitive?
It matters if I'm trying to put the 4 best teams in the playoffs.
Okay, so y'all
It
lost
matters.
Quinn Ewers against Texas at home last year, and you almost won that game, right? Because Quinn was gone early.
Because we have a
right?
good backup quarterback. That's my point. Tate didn't even show competency. That's my point. If he'd shown Hudson Card competency, then we're having a different conversation. The drop off from Florida State was massive. Against he was also playing a backup quarterback at Florida, by the way, and Max Brown.
Oh boy.
So
which
that
is
means the
why
teams are even.
Florida only scored 15 points in that game. And in their run game, what's that? Toafili and Trey Benson are your 2 running backs. I mean, Benson got 3 touchdowns in that game against Florida. They just ran the ball down their throat and used the run game to win the game. That's my point. We don't know what's going to be. Like you said, Styles makes games. In Florida State, when their run game is going, their run game is going. And we've talked about one of Bama's problems is stopping the run, right? Physical. It's really what we've talked about this. I think it would have been a fun game. That's my point. But they wouldn't have played
And I
Bama,
disagree.
so it didn't matter.
Here's a good question here. So this is, look, it's in like what if thing, but if Milroe got hurt in the 4th quarter against UGA, do they keep out Bama? No.
Yes.
They still put Bama. No, they don't. No,
You don't think they would? If Bama won the game, you don't think they don't think they would have played? They would have done it. I mean, especially the way Buckner played against USF.
No. I think they still would have put Bama in.
But that's a good point.
I just want
That's a good
people-
point too.
I want people here in the chat. I'm talking to the chat right now. My point is not that your quarterback gets hurt. My point is how your backup quarterback performs when he is asked to play.
But that's the question.
That is my point.
But that chat question
That
was
is my
perfect. If
point.
Milroe gets hurt, who's the backup quarterback there at Bama that anybody even trust? We saw them against USF.
We did,
Right?
but if they had come in and balled out and put up a whole bunch of numbers and matched Milroe's production, that's a different conversation.
No,
than
my
if they look
friend.
like trash.
No, my friend.
That is a
As that
different
question was
conversation.
stated, if Milroe got hurt in the 4th quarter, where there was not going to be an opportunity to show him off in this
Then
game,
Bama's gone.
does Bama-
If he's not going to play, yes, then Bama's out. Yes.
It's going to be interesting. One thing I will say is,
I mean, hypotheticals are fun. I'll say that. It's fun to theory craft it.
so one thing that I will say about the whole Florida State game, right? I got to give a shout out to Norvell. He did the best of what he could in his last 2 games. I thought Louisville was going to beat the crap out of Florida State. Then starting the 3rd string quarterback, I was like, they're going to lose this game. And credit to the 3rd string quarterback, I will give him his. Coleman dropped a few balls that game. I mean, first downs on 3rd down kind of balls. Johnny Wilson dropped a couple balls that game. But Norville won the game. Oh, hold on now.
Hey,
we got the man.
Hey,
What
look,
up, Ty?
I'm listening to y'all talk enough. Go ahead before we introduce
All
this
right.
one too.
Hold on, real quick. Let me share the screen, Chris. So let me share the screen.
Go ahead, please. Please.
I don't think I want to see this.
Please.
All right, let me.
Fellas, look. Okay? Go ahead and share the screen. Come on, Nick.
Hey, I'm sharing it. Go ahead. Just share it.
Look, people. I'm tired of handling this in a civil matter and all the rest of this stuff. Let's get legal with this. Let's get gangster with this. All right. Attorney Chris Griffin is on the case. All right.
I'm out, y'all. I think I need to leave at this point. I'm not going to be a part of this.
To show it.
Tomfoolery.
Okay? Go down. I want you to go to the middle of it.
I'm going.
Well, I'll
Okay.
tell you, stop right there.
Okay.
I sent out a subpoena, okay, to the College Football Playoff Committee. I want all documents, records, recordings, emails, and texts about the decision to exclude Florida State from the College Football Playoff and the Oklahoma Sooners from a New Year's Six bowl game. I need all of that. I need all Alabama Crimson Tide memorabilia, Texas Longhorn memorabilia, Greg Sankey's jockstrap. I need it all. I need all the evidence because
Ty,
things are
get this
not
man.
making sense. Okay? So y'all can handle this out here in the streets if y'all want to, but I'm going to get gangster legally with the courts and we're going to uphold this. To me,
Boy, that's going to be
there
an
should be
epic
no games
loss.
played. There should be no games played at all. Texas should not even be in the playoffs playing any game right now simply because there should be a boycott. We should all boycott the playoffs as is right now.
Hell no.
Been trying to get that off my chest for the longest.
Are you done?
I'm done.
All right.
That's all I had to say.
Let me get this shit off the screen. Ty, what's going on, man?
Oh, you know, same old, same old.
We're just talking about your
I'm
favorite
so happy
subject, Florida
Ty's
State.
here. Since we're wasting our time with subpoenas, go ahead, Ty.
Bro, that's the funniest thing ever that DeSantis is now scamming. He's out, his license plate needs to say scam, and he's out trying to crowdfund $1 million to sue. And anybody with any common sense knows that whenever there's a committee after, and I quote, the 4 best, not 4 most deserving, there's going to be a subjective aspect to this. And so now you're trying to sue over people's opinions. Like, Florida State as an institution might just be dumb. Like, they're actively suing. They might just be dumb. I don't know. I don't know.
They're trying to
Like,
hold it up, Ty. They're trying to hold it up.
You can't sue over people's opinion. Like, the fact, if they're serious, like, I don't know. That's just, I feel for the players of Florida State. I feel for the fans. Right? Like, in all seriousness, not joking. It sucks they got left out. Somebody was going to get left out, and they had codified into the college football provisions, if a key player goes down, they will weigh that. And it got weighed. And it sucks for the players on that team because they had a hell of a year. It was not the same team, absent Jordan Travis, unfortunately.
But hey, Ty, one thing I will say too is this is kind of Florida State's fault too. This is the ACC's
Well, they
fault.
could have voted to expand the playoffs.
Yes,
the
playoffs could have been expanded this year early. The SEC and the Big 12 said, let's do it. The other teams, the Pac-12, the ACC, and who's the other conference? Big 10 said no.
The Alliance.
That's
The Alliance
crazy.
said no.
Alliance, wow.
They said no. And so saying no has cost the Pac-12, the Big 10, and the ACC, Florida State, Oregon, Ohio State. I'm missing 2 teams. There's 2 other teams in that little, alliance. Penn State, and I'm missing one other. But anyways, it costs 4 teams. 4 you're right. 4 out of the 8 teams that could have been in the playoffs. 4 out of the 8 teams were from that alliance, and those teams missed out on a bunch of money and the opportunity for this whole thing to go away.
Yeah.
And Florida State could have been playing in the college football playoffs.
Hey,
way to go, Alliance.
Hey, side note, the Pac-12 probably would have changed their mind if they knew that they would be dissolving as a conference this year. So, I mean,
all right, Chris, we got another super chat. This time I got it right. There we go.
oh my God.
Hey, man. Anytime you get a chance to play Coach Prime, never mind. Anyways, all right. So look, man, SBC Bates says the K in Chris stands for Karen. This MFer wrote them a strongly worded letter. Hey, that's wrong, SBC.
Somebody's gotta do it, man.
Hey, man.
That was good.
Somebody
He said,
got to do it.
Funny.
He said, I've lived here for a year and a half, and they don't live here.
All right, man. Look, we talked enough about Florida State. We talked enough about the Bama-Michigan game. Ty, you missed out on the good talk on,
That's going to be a good one.
Michigan. Yeah, it's going to be a physical game. We said it's going to be a physical game. It's going to be a game at the line of scrimmages, and whoever wins that game is going to be beat up going into the second round. Because that's going to be.
I want to hear Ty's thoughts on Bama, Michigan.
Yeah, Ty, go ahead, buddy.
Well, I think one of the things for Michigan, they're absent their best offensive lineman. I mean, he's out for the year. And Bama, I was talking to Kyle Henderson about this earlier this morning. He's covered Alabama from Tuscaloosa since 2017. He said this is the healthiest Alabama has been going into a playoff game or going into a postseason game since he's been there, which that's, reassuring to hear. But Michigan is still a really good defense, and I know they haven't played pretty good offenses, but they did look good against Ohio State. Granted, Ohio State didn't look great on offense themselves. But at every level, there's someone on that Michigan defense. They have a really talented cornerback. They've got 2 really talented running backs. Sharon Moore is an offensive line coach and offensive play caller there. So it's going to be a good game, but I think you're going to see Alabama employ a very similar strategy to what they rolled out really early against Georgia. And I don't know if y'all heard, but Roman Harper asked Nick Saban after the game. He said, well, Georgia went out and scored real quick, just marched down the field on y'all. What changed? And Nick was like, oh, well, we were in a cover 3 look, just selling out to stop the run, but they kept doing quick passes. So instead, we just dropped two safeties over top and just said we're going to play balanced and only rush 4. And they just got to the quarterback with rushing 4. And I think you're going to see Alabama have almost a very similar game plan. Auburn rushed for a lot, but they held Georgia to 70 rushing yards and 2.5 yards per carry. This is a Georgia offensive line that, just like this Michigan offensive line, is going to be up for the Joe Moore Award, and they were at full strength. So it's going to be a fantastic game. I'm really excited. I don't think it's going to be as one-sided as a lot of people think.
I don't think so either. Honestly, this is gonna be close, man. It's
Yeah,
gonna
I
be a
think it's
real
gonna be a really
close
good
game.
one.
My only fear, Ty, for Bama is, the folks here in Alabama, talk radio, it's almost like they're starting to overlook this game, which is don't do that, folks. There are people calling in every day like, hey, Texas, you better not flop. We're going to see you in Houston. It's like, hey, whoa. You got a big juggernaut too in the first round. So hopefully that from the fan base isn't permeating down and the players start to hear it and they start to do their thing and start thinking about, Texas as well, because they're on this tour too to kind of beat everybody who beat them. And so, I want to see a good game. I think it's going to be a physical game. It's going to be physical. Michigan's physical. Bama's physical. If I had to put money on the game, I'm going Bama. But it's going to be physical. It's going to be physical, man.
They haven't faced a quarterback anywhere close to Milroe, and Tualia's mobility gave them trouble. If Tualia's mobility and getting out the pocket gives you trouble, Milroe is in a totally different class of mobile quarterback than Tualia Tagovailoa. And Tualia is great, but like what Milroe can do with his legs, it's just different. And I'm really excited to see how they account for that. It's going to be a good one.
Yep, it's going to be good. It's going to be interesting. All right, guys, man, look, we're already in 45 minutes. Let's talk about this Texas-Washington game. All right. I'm going to send this up to my Sooner friends on the top row there, Jay and Chris. I'm going to let them start off, and I want to let them tell me what they think about those Big 12 champions, Texas Longhorns from Austin, Texas, going to go play in the college football playoffs this year to represent the Big 12 conference in our last year with OU. But yeah, look, I want to hear how, first off, Jay, tell me how you feel about this game, man.
About what game?
Exactly.
The way you want to preface that. No, one that I hate that y'all are representing the Big 12. That sucks. I'd say the same thing about us too. I don't like anybody representing the Big 12 just because of how disrespectful they've been the last 2 years. When, we tried to point out that, the TV contracts were, ass, and we needed to figure out something in preparation to go against the big boys. So I don't like the fact that it's the Big 12 representation. They don't deserve it. But hey, congratulations to y'all to having the first and the last Big 12, in theory, Big 12 championship. I say that because there's 14 teams in the Big 12 right now. And I'm curious if they're going to actually change their name. From the Big 12 to the Big
30,
what,
the Big 30,
Big 45, or whatever the hell they're going to be. It should be the little 40, little 45, if anything. But no, it's going to be a good one between y'all and Washington. As we talked before, I want to see what we're going to see from this wide receiver and secondary matchup. That's the only thing I care about. That's going to be fun. Washington is absurdly talented on the offensive side, but I said at the beginning, we ain't got no juggernauts in the tournament this year. It's going to be fun. It's going to be some good teams going against each other. It's going to be actual battles. I feel like the styles match up very well on both sides. So it's going to be good to see what it looks like as the end result. So I'll be tuned in, of course. But the fun thing is with this being the last 4-team playoff, I cannot wait. I'm so excited about arguing 2 things next year. 1, who's the 4 teams that deserve the bye week? And 2, who's the 12th team, 11th and 12th team that's going to make the playoffs? It's going to be so intriguing to have those dumb arguments all next season.
Team 13 going to be hurt.
It's gonna be stupid. It's gonna be
Chris,
stupid.
how about you, Chris?
Okay, let's get to it. So, I think for me, it's how whose defense can step up. Look, front seven for y'all is really good. Sweat is really good. Give you guys that Murphy and Sweat on the inside. But once you start getting to that second level, that's where things kind of deteriorate a little bit, in my opinion. So, for me, I think that if we flip the script, let's talk about Washington's defense. I think that's something that we definitely need to talk about. You guys are explosive. There are at times there is a chance that Worthy could get loose, Mitchell could get loose. You really got to pick your poison, which guy you're going to take away. But the biggest thing is how disciplined are you as a defense? Take away the cute stuff. Take away all the cute stuff. The little bubble screen for the running back when the running back is just fake. They're faking a handoff to him, and then he's just going to the side for that. How disciplined are you to take away the cute stuff? One thing that I will say that has definitely made me smile, kind of pissed me off too, but made me laugh even more is the fact that for the last couple of weeks, Sark has had the biggest smile on his face. Why? Because he hasn't had to put his script down. Throughout these last few games, he's just been running plays off his script because OSU couldn't handle it. Texas Tech definitely couldn't handle it. I don't even know what that was about. So the whole thing is as a defense for Washington, are you disciplined enough to take away these big plays and make Quinn be checked down, Quinn? Or and take away all this cute stuff and make it through this script like I always talk about with Ty? Or are you that defense that's going to give up explosive play, and make this a shootout? Because Texas wants it to be a shootout. And if it's a shootout, I kind of tend to lean a little bit towards Texas, to be honest with you, simply because I think that Worthy can make plays on special teams as far as punt returning to give you guys plus yardage as far as where you're starting at once you start those drives. So that's the thing that is kind of scary. But if this Washington defense is disciplined enough to take away all the cute stuff, make it through the script, get to the second half, that's where it tends to kind of favor Washington, simply because, Steven, I've watched a lot of your videos, and I noticed you've been critical of Sark on some play calls that he's called not only this year, but the past few years. In the second half, those second half adjustments have been better this year, but I don't know what to expect in the second half of this game. One thing I would definitely say is this right here. Those wide receivers for Washington are real. It's not just Penix. I watched those games and I really broke it down. Penix isn't throwing those guys open. Those guys are just open. A lot of times those guys are just open. They have some really good route trees. So it's gonna be real fun to see how that secondary for Texas tries to counter that. And Penix is going to try to try you guys down the field an awful lot. Their run game as well it's cool, it's okay, but can they have a real run game? I think this is a game where Jaden Blue obviously can get off. So I see it as being a really good game. Obviously I favor Washington, but I think it's just, can you take away all the little cute cheap stuff off of that Sark, that famous Sark script, and can you get yourself to the second half to where either it's a game or it's really becoming tight and you're forcing Sark to make some really critical decisions on offense as far as if he wants to be aggressive or not.
Ty, how about you?
Yeah, this is another one where I think it might be closer than people anticipate, but I have Texas winning. And when I say closer than people anticipate, I've seen some people think Washington's going – well, I've seen more people think Texas is going to handle Washington and handle them fairly easily. Then I've seen a few people say that Washington can strike at will. I think it's going to be a really good game. Ultimately, I think your matchup is as follows – Penix testing the Texas secondary downfield, because if you're going to test the Texas defense, I just don't think you're going to find success running into the teeth of it. Those dudes they have up front for y'all's defense, they're incredible. The interior presence of that Texas defense is fantastic. I love both of your linebackers, Benda and Ford. Hill is going to be an absolute problem for years to come. But for as much as Washington's going to be trying to push the ball downfield, are they going to be able to handle the guys up front that y'all have? And for y'all, it's about making Penix uncomfortable. For Penix, it's about being comfortable in fire. And that's, I think, the matchup that's going to be so interesting. When I look at Washington's defense, they have to have the best game they've had all year because Oregon is a good offense. There's no doubt about it. Troy Franklin is sensational. Their play calling is great. But when I look at the Texas offense, Quinn will test you downfield more, and Sark will test you downfield more than will that Oregon offense. The Oregon offense for years now has kind of been one of those slow draw offenses that can score quick, but it's screen passes, real quick gains, and then they'll try and break one. Sark he'll test you deep. And so I don't see Washington's defense having the answers for everything Texas's offense can bring to the table. We talked about how even Brooks goes down, you still have Blue, you still have Red, you still have Baxter. There's Keelan Robinson, goodness gracious. I mean, you can put him at pretty much anywhere. He's a gadget guy and a running back, really valuable player, especially come playoffs, right? I mean, everything he can do, he's a nightmare for a defense to account for. So I have Texas winning, but I do think it's going to be a really, really good game.
Steven.
Revenge tour. Just played these guys, last year in the Alamo Bowl. Tons of players still on this roster on both sides. You think there's 31 or 32 players coming back for Texas, and there's 30 or 30 plus players coming back for Washington. And in that game, Quinn Ewers was comfortable and had one of his better passing out, performances. And that was with Casey Kane and Xavier Worthy actually struggling and dropping some balls. The receiver aspect, you guys are nailing it. That's the matchup that everybody's paying attention to. And, why I keep saying styles make fights. We give it up over the top. Washington can be very deadly over the top. Also, McMillan is back for Washington and healthy. And I think you saw his him contributing in the Pac-12 championship game. He was very, very effective. Dylan Johnson running the football for Washington, very, very effective, just having that balance there. So while they may not be the most efficient runs, having that hammer on a 3rd and 2 does help, right? And keeping drives alive and keeping you on time. I think this is a fantastic coaching matchup between Steve Sarkisian and Kalen DeBoer. Ryan Grubbs versus PK. There's a whole bunch of chess going to be played in New Orleans coming up here. And look, Texas trying to, establish that run game against Washington and being strategic about it. That's where our shortfall was last year in San Antonio, Nick.
Mm-hmm.
We
Yep.
couldn't run the football. Now, we know, hey, Bijan and them weren't playing, and we thought Jonathan Brooks was going to have the coming out party, but he had the hernia issue and was very limited. But now with Cedric Baxter here, with Jaden Blue now emerging, and I think the other thing is AD Mitchell's here in the playoffs now, right? AD Mitchell's here, and that was a role last year where Casey Kane had a 100-yard game against Washington from the boundary. Now that person's AD Mitchell. And one thing we kind of found in the second half of that game is when we went 11 personnel and really just tried to, really kind of play quick and RPO football. Now, Jabbar Muhammad, they got Jabbar Muhammad. We got Manny.
We got Manny.
There's some good. To me, when I think about this game, I just smile because it's going to be fun. I think this is going to be a really fun, dynamic matchup for anybody that's a college football viewer because of the chess that's going to be played between the coaches, the little individual storylines between some of the players. And then when you think about the aesthetically how these teams play, Washington is a fun team to watch play football. Anybody that watched them play last week against Oregon, that's why I was like, why is Oregon getting 9.5 points? Washington, they're aggressive. They play, they throw back shoulder. They will throw those deep crossers. And Texas, on the other hand, we know how we roll. So I'm just excited for the matchup because I think there's tons to dissect here. And I think the next month going over this game it's going to be a lot of fun for us.
Hey, man, I'm excited about this game, folks. I think it's going to be a shootout. Just like John Doe said, it's going to be a shootout. Washington's defense, passing yardage, they're the 122nd ranked defense in passing out of 130 teams in the country.
They
And
got one DB, and he's a bad boy. But
yeah, he's
outside
a
of
bad
him,
boy.
that the rest of that secondary just ain't it.
And Washington's defense gives up about 397 yards a game. Okay. And this game is going to be played on turf, indoors. It's going to be a track meet, people. And this is going to be a fun game. Get your popcorn ready, folks, because you're going to see two quarterbacks who aren't afraid. They can make the throws. They got great coaching behind them. Of course, I'm a Texas guy. I'm going to give Texas the edge on this, but not just because I'm a Texas guy. I like Texas's offensive line. I like their ability to be able to run the ball as well. I said this in a text to to Steven and Nash and Texas Homer. I said, look, man, one thing that Texas has done this year, once Brooks got hurt, a lot of Texas fans, we were a little bit, kind of scared. Like, how is Texas going to manage these last two games against Iowa State and against Texas Tech? How are we going to manufacture a running game? I think what this has done is showed you how good this offensive line is, because CJ Baxter came on and had a 100-yard game against Iowa State. And then in the next game, Jaden Blue, who's our our fourth string running back, came in and had a 100-yard game too as well. And then we go into the Big 12 championship game and we see everybody getting fed. Jaden Blue, Savion Red, CJ Baxter, Keelan Robinson. You know what I'm saying? Keelan had 2 touchdowns this game. So I think Jonathan Brooks being hurt is a curse, because he is one of the best running backs here in the country. But for Texas, it might have been almost like when Georgia lost Brock Bowers and they had to really use their offensive weapons and to maximize them. Sark has found new weapons that he can utilize and not have to depend on one guy to come out there and do everything in the running game. So look, I like Texas in this matchup. It's going to be a track meet, folks. I want to see how the Texas defensive line is going to work against the Washington offensive line. Washington has a small center, folks. And I want to see how they're going to block our two guys, honestly. I want to see how they're going to block our two guys. And so
they keep saying, they keep talking about Texas defending deep with our secondary.
Yeah.
And it's true.
Yep.
And balls getting true. I want to see Washington tackle in space.
Yeah.
Because the tackling I saw in that Oregon game was atrocious. They literally struggled to wrap up in the open field multiple times, where they had guys in space, or they would give up a slant or a dig, and it's like, all right, it's supposed to be 15 yards and it's a house call, right? I want to see them, because our guys can run after the catch. That's the other aspect. I mean, every single guy we put out there, from Jordan Whittington to Worthy, who's probably going to be first team all punt return, to AD Mitchell, those guys get busy after the catch. So Washington's really shown me issues tackling in space. I want to see them. I think it's the same level of concern on both sides.
Well,
exactly.
When you look at this, I think an easy question for me, and we talked about this on Bleacher Report, I think every time I look at a game, right, and I look at a matchup, my first question is, who is the more balanced team? Who is the team that when I look at, it doesn't matter if they're better on defense, but are you better all around? And to me, Texas is the better rounded team. They can run the ball very well. They can pass the ball very well. You've got a very good defense. Even your secondary, right? Like, we talk about the secondary being where you probably will get attacked, but that's because we're splitting hairs here, right? Every defense has to get attacked. Mm-hmm. So that's naturally but it's not like Texas has a bad secondary. I mean, Jesus, I think sometimes people will listen to, and not you two, but maybe even me, and unintentionally it might come across as like, oh, Texas doesn't have no, far from it. This is a very good secondary. It's just when we're talking the game of where are you going to attack, I'm not going to run it to Byron Murphy and Sweat. I'm going to go far away from them. So I'm going to air it out and just pray. Nino, you hit the nail on the head, man. Their center is small, and you're going to have to help him Like
Mhm.
you're going to have to crash a guard down, but then what does that mean absent? Now you're going to have a one-on-one on one side. Now your other guard is going to have to one-on-one someone. Like you're creating one-on-ones because of Sweat. And that's something that I just don't know how Washington is going to handle over 4 quarters. That's why I lean Texas. I just think they're a better balanced team. I think they're a really balanced team.
Yeah, man. Look here, man. I'm gonna tell you something. Even the Texas the DBs, right? Their cornerbacks, seeing Manny Muhammad out there, seeing Terrence Brooks out there, so once Watts left the game, we saw the cornerbacks played pretty much man coverage from the time Manny was in the game. Now Manny was playing, I think Manny's playing the field side, wasn't he? No. I'm sorry. Manny was playing the boundary side. He was taking the position of Watts, and I think Terrence Brooks is playing the field side. But they were playing press. I mean, they were on the guys. They were on it. No more 9 yards off the guys. They were being physical. They were letting the length of those guys go against those wide receivers. I want to see how Texas's DBs are going to go against Washington's wide receivers. Are they going to kind of continue that same style of play, or are they going to back up off them and give them some kind of respect, right? So it's going to be interesting. And also, Texas does not have Derek Williams for the first half. I think that's going to be big for Texas to not have their starting safety in that game for the first half. He got a dumb targeting call, and things just didn't go well for him. But yeah, man, it's going to be interesting, Ty. I'm excited about the game. I think it's going to be Texas versus Bama again, and I think that's going to be the championship. And I think Sankey is going to be one proud papa. You know what I'm saying?
Thrilled. Absolutely thrilled.
He's going to be.
Y'all play like an SEC team this year, bro. Or to be 100%, like everything
physical.
about Texas plays like an SEC team this year. The way Sark dials up his offense, it looks. You look the part, and that's why you are where you are, right? I mean, easy to see.
Dude, it's gonna be great. I'm excited about it, man. Hey, look, folks, we lost 3 guys here. So Steven had to leave too. So me and Ty be on here for probably like 5 more minutes or so. But yeah, man, I love both matchups. I'm with you on the Texas, Washington game. I think Texas wins the game. It's going to be a close game. I think Texas right now is favored by like 6 or 7 points. I could see it maybe being a touchdown, but
I could see 7 to 10. Like when I say close, I mean like how we talk about games. Right?
Yeah.
Like it's like the nuance.
One possession, maybe like a possession and a half kind of game, 7 to 10 points. Yeah. And I think the Michigan Bama game is going to be fairly close as well.
I think 7.
Yeah.
7 to 10 as well. Right, very close though. Once again, that's a game where if Bama wins by 10, we could be having a conversation where Bama pulled ahead the last 6 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
And you had a fight. It is what it is.
Man, it's going to be wonderful. You know what? I know people are mad about Florida State. I get it. They were very deserving. But these are the 4 best teams, folks. It is. These are the 4 best teams. Even though, so me and Jay were talking about this earlier. We're saying, it's kind of feel bad for Florida State because you're saying defense doesn't matter, basically, and it is what it is. And I get it. But I think that staff got it right. They got the 4 best teams in. And these are the 4 best matchups. Michigan versus Bama is going to be a physical dogfight, I think, for 4 straight quarters. Michigan is going to be down your throat every freaking play. You know what's coming. They're just going to be like, can you stop me? That's it. Can you stop me? And Bama is going to try to do the same thing, but, it's going to be interesting. When Bama runs Jalen Milroe, and I noticed this against Georgia, Tommy Rees called a lot of design runs to the outside. It was almost like he did a sweep with Jalen Milroe, basically, right? Fake handoff, sweep to the left, fake handoff, sweep to the right kind of thing. He never would run straight at the middle, which is totally smart by him. Does Michigan have the sideline speed that Georgia had? Because Georgia was able to neutralize those plays a little bit, Todd. Not all of them, but their sideline speed. They got, Milroe a couple of times, kind of, like a 1 to 2 yard loss there. But does Michigan have those athletes? That's the key. If they have athletes that can go sideline to sideline, this can be a really good game. A really good game.
Yeah, and I talked about this on the Bama Standard. I think a play that you've seen it a few times, but you haven't seen it a lot. Watch for Kendrick Law on those little sweet passes as he's
That's
coming.
my Shreveport boy, more. I can't believe y'all stole my Shreveport boy, man.
And they coach, and, you know, the reviews.
I love that kid, man.
The coaching staff, they love him. It's been one of those years where Bama's offense has been figuring itself out on the way, so it's been kind of hard to get every wide receiver the opportunities they need. Like if our offense was where it was now at the beginning of the year, they'd probably have 1,000-yard receiver. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
But it's just evolved. But part of that evolution is getting Law involved, because they just think that the kid is way too talented not to get the ball in his hands. You just got to find a way.
You got to find a way. That's why he's on kickoffs and he's on punt return too, isn't he?
Well, he's one of them. I'm surprised he's not on punt return. They actually have Caleb Downs do it. It used to be
that's right.
Kool-Aid.
That's right. Caleb was the guy his last 3 or 4 games.
Caleb Downs' first punt return, he took it like
that's a Chattanooga game.
Yeah,
that's a Chattanooga game. Yeah. That dude's special, man. And then shout out to Caleb Downs, folks. Once you've seen the way that his game has matured this year, he's an All-American this year, folks. He's a PFF All-American, first team All-American this year, true freshman. So that shows you the maturation process. So it shows you how much Bama's gotten better over the year, which is great. And look, I see Bama, they've gotten better. I don't know how much better Michigan has gotten this year. I know that they've gotten better. I mean, every team gets better.
I think their defense. I think Michigan, and I know everybody talks about the lack of offenses Michigan has played, which is 100% true.
But they don't have to use it. We haven't seen it yet. That's what Jay said. We haven't seen it because they haven't had to use it, which is scary because you shouldn't be having to do it your first time in a playoff game.
Yes, it's scary both ways, right? Because like you don't quite know what they have, but
they don't either.
Simultaneously, they don't know really what they have because let's be honest, even in the Maryland game, it was one of those games where you still felt like Michigan was going to win.
Yeah, they had complete control. Okay, so hear me out when I say this, Ty. The Bama-Georgia game was close, right? It was close on the scoreboard. But even though it was close on the scoreboard, it felt like Bama had complete control of the game.
It did feel that way. And there was an advanced metric that actually showed, you know, the graphs that they do, like how bad did we be? It actually had Bama under Georgia, which didn't make sense to me because Bama had 4 interceptions that they dropped, which, I mean, you catch 3 of those and you're talking about
blowout. But Ty, you remember I said this on the Bleacher Report. I said I picked Georgia to win the game because I'm going to give.
You did talk about Beck.
I said I'm going to give Carson Beck the credit. If he is who everybody says he is, Georgia will win this game easy. If he's just another guy, it's Bama's game. But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and give him credit for what he's done this year so far. He's not that guy, folks. and look, and I'm not taking Bama's defense made him look like that, but he just did some completely stupid stuff. He is not that guy. And Bama made him pay for it. Like you said, they dropped 3 or 4 interceptions. I mean, in the hands. Like
I'll give 3 because the one where it hit more in the hands. But if he would have caught that, that would have been. Well,
it's to the house.
Well, no, that was the one where he was diving.
Oh, okay. What's the one on the sideline? What's the one on the sideline?
That was Trey Amos.
Okay,
and he was
that's
on
the
him
one I'm
like
thinking
still
about.
going shit, but still, if he catches that, that's 6.
That one's 6. So that's the one I'm thinking about. But I mean, he threw some awful balls. I mean, he threw some awful ones. And I didn't get a chance to watch a lot of Georgia this year. But the games I watched, I caught the end of the Ole Miss game. I caught the end of the Auburn game. But he is not who I thought he was going to be, and Bama made him look like who he is.
Yeah,
Bama made him look like who he is. And so it's going to be interesting, man. Look, I see a Texas versus Bama championship, and I see for all the marbles coming up in the next month and a half, and I see Greg Sankey looking like a proud father sitting on top of the
either way, winning.
So yeah, man, it's going to be interesting, man. I'm excited, man. College football, man. It's college football. This is what you love about college football. The stories. Sark going up against his old team, trying to get some get back for last year. Saban being doubted the entire year after week 2, and has he lost a step? Right? All he does is go out and win the SEC, and and stop a team from going 30 wins straight, right? And doing it, evolving throughout the season. Washington being doubted every freaking game this year, being doubted. 9-point dog to Oregon in their championship game. All they do is come out and win the game and tell everybody why they are the cream of the crop of that conference. And then Michigan, not having their head coach for 6 or 7 games this year and having to go beat Ohio State, your biggest rival, without your head coach on the sideline and just making it work the entire season. And so now you get the chance to see these two. And look, these matchups in the, Florida, no, I'm sorry, not Florida, Bama, Michigan, great matchup. Styles make fights. This is going to be a physical matchup. And then Texas, Washington is going to be a track meet. And it's going to be some exciting ball in the first, man.
100%. David,
let me see what David said.
He's got a good point about Jahdae Barrett being overlooked. But before that, he says Caleb Downs is a very good football player, but just like Kool-Aid McKinstry, Downs is a nationally recognized player and receives recognition that might not be totally deserved, and then relates that to Jahdae Barron. Jahdae Barron is an unbelievable player. Here's what I will say, though, David. Downs' freshman year, he's putting up better numbers than Jahdae Barron's best year as a true freshman playing strong safety in Nick Saban's defense. He's got 99 tackles, 64 solo. Jahdae Barron's best year was 74 tackles, 42 solo, so already taking that. He has 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble return, 2 interceptions, which Jahdae Barron did as well, forced fumble, 2 interceptions. Caleb Downs has a punt recovery and 3 passes defended. That's a bad boy.
Now, hey, Caleb's just generational talent. He's generational talent, and he has a very high floor. Let's just keep it honest. It's almost, David, like when we talk about the quarterbacks in the Texas quarterback room. Quinn might be the best one right now. I think the highest floor in that room is Arch Manning. Caleb Downs might not be I ain't gonna say that. Caleb Downs is probably the best defensive back at Bama right now. And his floor is higher than everybody. I mean, if his family, for crying out loud, his
Josh
cousin,
Downs.
Josh Downs is his brother.
Jay Bly.
Dre Bly is his uncle, right? His uncle is Dre Bly. His father. I mean, dude, he is to the DBs of college football to what kind of like Arch is to the quarterbacks of college football. He was born in this. He has a borderline Hall of Fame uncle, in Dre Bly, and his dad is that dude too. So I mean, look, man, he's as advertised. He's as advertised. I'm not taking shit away from Dre.
But I do completely agree with David here about like Jahdae Barron, and the disrespect or lack of recognition on his name is unbelievably wild. I could not agree with you more there, David, because Jahdae Barron, in my opinion, is one of the nation's best players. I think he is so good. The pick he baited in the Alabama game was expertly played. I mean, that's as high as football IQ as you could have on display. The way he baited Milroe into that throw, that was beautiful. Absolutely beautiful.
And Barron's going to be a draft pick. He's going to be probably a second or third round pick this year, folks. Barron's that dude, man. He's
going to make someone very happy on the
and
next
he's physical. He's physical. He kind of reminds me of Quandre Diggs.
He's smart too.
He's very smart. He's physical. Not the biggest in stature guy, but I tell you what, he's filthy in the slot. And he's going to be a guy that's going to go and play the slot in the league. And then as he gets older and his body matures, you're going to see him move back to safety and then have a hell of a long career. I mean, I already see it happening. He's going to have one hell of a career at safety once, like once he gets older. I'm going to say like year 7, year 8. He's going to make that transition and be a safety that can tackle, because he can tackle really well, and then also be able to cover. He's great at coverage. So, I mean, look. Hey, man, we got some good matchups, Ty. I'm excited, dude. I'm excited.
David asks a legit question. He says, does Caleb Downs play with an All-American middle linebacker? Deontay Lawson is All-American middle linebacker level, absolutely. And 2 All-American defensive tackles in front of him. He doesn't have the interior, Dallas Turner, Chris Braswell. That's the best edge rushing duo in the nation. I'll answer that no. Caleb Downs making 90 tackles as a safety is a reflection on Alabama's defense. They drop him into the box. He's a strong safety.
Yeah, he's a strong safety. He's damn near a linebacker. He's damn near like a linebacker on the run. So,
I get what you're saying, though. Like,
Yeah.
they have used him a lot. Like, it is a little wild to see a safety make that many tackles, but that's a testament to me to his versatility. I can't talk right now.
Hey, it is what it is. But man, look, man, we've been on here about an hour and a half, man. I think my wife just called me. She's tired of telling me to get my ass up off this podcast and talk to my kid. So, man, look, man. Hey, Ty, appreciate it, brother. We'll meet next week, man. SEC Connect next week. And we're going to talk about the portal next week. We're going to talk about these portal wars. And Ty, look here, man. Let's preface this for next week. Texas A&M had 30 commitments in the 2022 class. 7 of them are already gone and transferred. 11, as of right now, 11 are in the transfer portal. So that is 18 players from that 30-person class. And I think they're anticipating 2 or 3 more guys to hit the portal here by the end of the week. Big time guys, too. Man, things are imploding over there in College Station. But we're going to talk about all that next week, man. We're going to talk about that next week as a panel. But hey, folks, like, comment, subscribe to the SEC Connect, man. We got a lot of things going on here. This is episode 35. Going to 50 here pretty soon. 15 more weeks to get to, episode 50. But hey, thanks, you guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and share. It means a lot. And we out.